violence and other kind of violence.
Get away! I could be at work, at school, in my car, and I can still get shot by the police. But I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.
What's good, YouTube? It's the Black Gen Z Mindset. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe, and let's get into the video.
We're beginning tonight with breaking news out of Racine, Wisconsin. Shots fired during a funeral at a cemetery there, and police are saying that several people are wounded. We do not have information on their conditions.
Dang. The super gremlin shot up the funeral. And I know that was terrifying for the funeral goers. I mean, imagine going to a funeral and then having to plan one immediately after attending. This is crazy, y'all. At
the moment, but investigators are asking people to avoid the area around Graceland Cemetery in Racine. They're calling this a critical incident.
And we begin with the story we've been following all afternoon. The breaking news out of Racine, a shooting during a burial at Graceland Cemetery.
Now here's a map showing you where that cemetery is located. It sits right in a residential neighborhood.
Bruce Harrison's been on the ground in Racine all afternoon. Bruce, what can you share with us?
Steve, Shannon, we were able to speak with some family who were at this funeral, and they tell us that 5 family members were hit by gunfire. 5 family members of the man who was being buried this afternoon. We also had an opportunity to speak to the funeral home who was arranging this service, and if you can see in the distance there, that is the site of the burial. The funeral home told us no staff was injured, and Racine police, they've confirmed multiple victims were shot but have not shared any condition on injuries. Family also have not been able.
And guys, this is a common occurrence. You have people, you know, who are in rival gangs. They're pissing on each other's graves and disrespecting the dead, and now they're going to a ceremony of, I'm assuming, their ops and shooting up the funeral. Nothing is sacred anymore. Okay, we're at that point.
Able to tell us how badly people were injured. Now, this family, it's the family of a man named Deshante King. He was shot and killed by police here in Racine on May 20th. Police tell us they had stopped King while he was driving in Racine, and he ran from the car with a gun. Police say an officer shot and killed King during a foot chase. The chief of police here in Racine also told us that King, and these are his words, made an action that led to the officer shooting.
So he got pulled over, ran from the cop, turned around as if he was going to shoot the cop. The cop killed him. And then his ops, to add injury to insult, spun the block on his funeral. This is a guy who was hated by some people, okay? You don't see Black Lives Matter protesting for the cop killing him. What you see is other black people coming to his funeral and becoming super gremlins on demon time.
Now, I've been able to speak with several people who heard the shooting this afternoon, including a man who lives just 2 blocks away. His name's Ray Brantley. He was picking up his daughter from school when he heard the shot, and his son was nearby playing basketball and almost hit by the gunfire.
Who in their right mind would go and shoot up a funeral in broad daylight? Those people who are attending the funeral, they weren't a part of what happened. Yeah. So why are we shooting at innocent people? I just don't understand it.
It was a barrage of gunfire, and we could hear bullets whistling past us, and we just ran away towards my car. Me and my brother were yelling, "Run!" So everybody took off.
And Racine police want the public to know if you have any video of this afternoon shooting, you should send it to them by email. You can see those emails now on your screen, and an investigator will review that video and then may follow up with you. That's it for now. Reporting live in Racine, Bruce Harrison, TMJ4 News.
All right, Bruce, thank you. Now,
I want to get back to that breaking news we first brought to you at the top of the newscast. Police are investigating a shooting with multiple victims at Graceland Cemetery in Racine.
Our Madeline O'Neill is there live. Maddie, this is a large crime scene. What are you seeing out there?
Yeah, it really is, and we just got here, but like you said, Graceland Cemetery, and what we know from police is that there are victims. We don't know how many there are at this time, but they tell us that multiple shots were fired just before 2:30. So let me show you what we're seeing here. So this is a large cemetery. Much of it is fenced off, but the entrances are all taped off as well.
Don't they have police escorts at funerals too? Where were the police?
Photographer that got here before us, he told us that he talked to a man whose wife saw a funeral procession go into Graceland Cemetery here. Then she heard shots fired, and that's when officers arrived. And of course, they are still here on a scene investigating. We do see a dog out there. We hear helicopters, multiple helicopters. There's a number of evidence markers as well on Lathrop Avenue right next to us, right next to the cemetery here. So we're working to figure out exactly what happened here. Again, Racine police say multiple victims. We're unsure just how many at this point. We're also working to figure out if Racine police will be holding any kind of press conference to give more information, and we'll keep on top of this and join you later in the shows. So live in Racine, Madeline O'Neill, Fox 6 News.
Madeline, have you happened to see any family members coming to this scene or anyone grieving or, showing a lot of emotion nearby?
We actually haven't. There are some onlookers around here, neighbors, probably people just in the area, but we haven't gotten a chance to talk to them yet, so that's something we'll do right now.
All right, we know you just got to the scene and you got to work it, so we'll let you get back to that, and we'll get back to you as soon as it warrants. We appreciate it. Thanks.
I'm here on the corner of MLK and Frederick Douglass, where a shooting just took place. And as you can see, it's a pretty rough area. So I'm basically risking my life reporting on this madness. So make sure you do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. Like the video, hell, share the video. And make sure you go ahead and leave a comment down in the comments section to continue the discussion on how we can find solutions to all this son violence in the streets.
And here at 4:30, we're continuing to follow breaking news out of Racine. The Racine Police Department asking the public to avoid the area of Graceland Cemetery due to a shooting at a funeral. And we have just learned in the last few minutes that Ascension All Saints Hospital, which is nearby, it's just down Osborne Boulevard from this cemetery, is now on lockdown as a result of this shooting. Now, according to police and funeral officials, there were shots fired at the funeral of Deshante King. Family members tell us 5 people at the funeral were struck by gunfire. We're working to learn more about their conditions right now. Bruce Harrison live on the scene, the ground there, to tell us what it looks like in the area. Bruce?
And you're not going to hear about this mass shooting anywhere, guys. So, I mean, pretty much nothing to see here. Just some ops getting spun on posthumously. Back to your regularly scheduled program.
Good afternoon.
Tom, I'm standing at Graceland Cemetery right now, where the shooting took place, and it's very clear where the family was gathered. If you look back here, you can see a red tent or awning over the site of Deshante King's burial this afternoon, the event which was disrupted by a shooting that, according to Racine police, happened just before 2:30 this afternoon. We're still trying to learn exactly how many people were injured. Family tell us 5, but they were unable to tell us to what extent those people were injured. I'm in constant contact with Racine police as well. Their PIO just has told me they were uncertain also. Just to give you an idea, Tom, of how big this crime scene is right now, we're going to send it up to our NBC affiliate in the sky, Channel 5 out of Chicago, for a live picture and a look. From the ground, I can see at least a dozen, if not more, investigators with dogs. They're canvassing the area around the site of the burial, most likely looking for bullets that traveled across this part of the funeral from a road all the way to the site where Deshante King was being buried. And family and funeral home tell us family members were hit. Now, we have a better idea here on the ground. If we can throw it back down to myself and Ryan Whitaker, of where the shooting came from. Now, we know where the family was gathered directly behind me, but over here to my left, you can see This street is full of yellow markers covering shell casings.
Wow, so they were shooting pretty long range. I mean, who said these super gremlins don't have aim? They were shooting pretty long range. They hit 5 people. Oh my God, this is a new level, and it's not like we haven't seen this before, but it's getting bad, y'all. These super gremlins are on demon time.
So it would more than likely appear that someone pulled up in a car or walked up on foot. Police have not clarified at this point, and opened fire from that spot. There's at least a dozen markers indicating where the gunfire came from toward the direction of Deshante King's burial. And I just want to wrap quickly by saying that we've talked to a couple residents, including those parents of young children who say their kids were outside when this gunfire started. You know, people, their family, the funeral site. So just a very reckless act, and we're going to learn more and keep you updated here from Racine. Reporting live in Racine, Bruce Harrison, TMJ4 News.
And Bruce, we should point out, I know you've covered this story for a while, Deshante King was a 37-year-old man that was killed in a police shooting back on May 20th. Is that correct?
That's right. Killed just last month. We were down here covering that along 12th Street. What we know, very little from the police press conference that followed King's death, was that he was the subject of an investigation. They were looking for felons in possession of firearm, and they pulled him over because of that. Police say that King then ran from officers on foot out of his car, and it was a way that he was shot and killed by an officer. Police told us that King with a firearm.
Their connection is messed up. This ain't me.
Made some kind of action that led to the shooting, Tom. And that's all we know from police about King's death. And now we're...
Okay, having some issues there with Bruce's signal. A lot of action going on in that area, so that's wreaking havoc on our signal there. But the gist is the latest right now that we know, at least 5 people shot during a funeral there in Racine at Graceland Cemetery. The area around is closed off right now as police continue to investigate. Of course, this is a developing story. We'll bring you the latest as we learn more. Make sure to stay with TMJ4 News here on air and online for the latest.
Gang violence and other kind of violence.
Get away! I could be at work, in school, in my car, and I can still get shot by the police. I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.